How do you build a world so real you can actually get lost in it? For J.R.R. Tolkien, the answer wasn't just some flash of imagination. Nope, it was a blueprint, and it was built from the one thing he loved more than anything else: language. So today we're going to dig into the mind that created Middle-earth and figure out just how an Oxford professor basically became the father of modern fantasy.
And that word right there, influential, that's everything. We're not just talking about, a good story with some elves and dwarves. We are talking about a fundamental, ground-shaking shift in what fantasy could even be. Tolkien didn't just write books, he built an entire reality, from the atoms up. So what was his secret? How'd he do it?
Okay, so to really get Middle-earth, you gotta understand that it didn't start with a cool map or some epic hero. No, it all started with his day job.
And this one word right here, philologist, this is the key to unlocking everything. See, Tolkien wasn't really a storyteller first. He was an academic, a professor who was totally obsessed with the history and evolution of languages. And that obsession, it didn't just inform his work, it became the literal DNA of his entire fictional universe.
And this is what makes him so completely different from pretty much every other author out there. Think about it. Most writers, they create a world, right? And then they invent some cool-sounding names. Well, Tolkien did the exact opposite. He spent years, literally years, crafting entire languages, like Elvish, with full grammar, syntax, and history. And only then did he ask himself, okay, so what kind of people would speak these languages? That's where it all came from. The mythology, the histories, the very soul of Middle-earth. The world was built just to give his words a home. It's incredible. So you've got this guy with this immense, unseen history just living inside his head. How does he finally invite the rest of us in? Well, you might think it'd be with some grand creation myth or a massive war story, but nope. He did it with a story about a very small person who, more than anything, just wanted to be left alone. I mean, on one side, you have Bilbo Baggins. This is a hobbit who is all about comfort. His idea of a perfect day: a full pantry, a good book, and a nice, warm fireplace. Simple. Then, his cozy little world is basically invaded by a wizard and 13, let's be honest, really rowdy dwarves. And they've got this absolutely insane plan to go steal treasure from a fire-breathing dragon. It is the ultimate clash, right? The deep, deep desire for the safety of home slammed right up against the terrifying, but maybe thrilling, call of the great unknown.
And really, that's the heart of The Hobbit. Bilbo isn't a hero, not at all. He's supposed to be a burglar, and frankly, he's terrible at it. But as he's forced into these situations, outsmarting trolls, escaping from goblins, facing down giant spiders, he starts to find this courage and this cleverness that he had no idea was inside him. It's that classic, super powerful story about how wild circumstances can bring out the hero that's hiding inside the most ordinary one of us. And then, deep down in a dark goblin cave, he finds something. Just a simple, plain gold ring. Nothing special to look at. In that moment, it just seems like a lucky find, right? A cool magic trinket that makes him invisible and helps him escape. But that small, almost accidental discovery turns out to be the single most important moment in the entire history of Middle-earth. It's the tiny seed from which a much larger and a much darker story is about to grow. Because that little magic trinket from The Hobbit, well, it's about to become the terrifying centerpiece of Tolkien's absolute masterpiece, The Lord of the Rings. And this is a story that takes the cheerful, adventurous world Bilbo knew and just plunges it headfirst into a desperate war for survival. Honestly, this shift between the two books is just staggering. The Hobbit is this charming adventure. It's almost a fairy tale. But The Lord of the Rings, which came out almost 20 years later, is an epic in the truest sense of the word. The tone gets deadly serious. The battle between good and evil becomes incredibly profound. And the stakes? Well, we're not talking about one hobbit's treasure anymore. We're talking about the fate of the entire world. And right at the heart of it all is that ring. Turns out, it's not just some tool for turning invisible. It's the One Ring, an instrument of pure, concentrated evil forged by the Dark Lord Sauron with one goal: to dominate all life. The quest sounds simple enough on paper: destroy the ring. But it's an almost hopeless task. Why? Because the ring can only be unmade in the fires of Mount Doom, the very place it was forged, deep inside the enemy's homeland.
And this, right here, is why decades later, we are all still so captivated by this story. It's not really about orcs and elves, is it? It's about timeless, universal human struggles. I mean, you feel the corrupting nature of power every time the ring tempts someone. You see the incredible strength of friendship in Sam's unwavering loyalty to Frodo. And maybe, most importantly, you learn that true courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about pushing forward even when you feel like all hope is lost.
But here's the truly amazing part. The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, they were just two stories, two small windows into a world that was already thousands and thousands of years old in Tolkien's mind. The true, absolutely mind-boggling scale of his creation, well, that would only be revealed after he was gone. See, Tolkien had spent pretty much his entire adult life writing the ancient history of his world. I'm talking creation myths, the epic wars of the First Age, the rise and fall of entire kingdoms. After he passed away, his son Christopher took on this just immense task of sifting through actual mountains of unpublished notes to try and piece together his father's complete vision for all of us. And so, over the next 2 decades, the full picture finally started to emerge. First, we got the Silmarillion in 1977, which is basically the Bible of Middle-earth's creation. Then came Unfinished Tales, which filled in so many gaps. And then, believe it or not, the massive 12-volume History of Middle-earth series came out, which literally lets you watch his ideas evolve on the page. This wasn't just some backstory he jotted down. This was a complete, functioning history that gave his world a sense of weight and reality that no fantasy had ever had before.
And that is his ultimate legacy. That's why we call him the father of modern fantasy. It's not just because he wrote a bestseller. It's because he proved what was possible. His absolute, uncompromising dedication to detail, to building a world that felt ancient and real, that created a whole new blueprint for the genre. It's a blueprint that has inspired generations of writers, artists, and filmmakers ever since.
You know, Tolkien's world has now been around for nearly a century, and it feels just as real and just as timeless as any ancient mythology from our own world. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our super fast-paced, kind of disposable world, what is that magic ingredient? What's that perfect blend of incredible detail, profound heart, and universal truth that allows a story to become truly immortal?